you said that applies to schools. Is there any reason that you refer to these areas as centers rather than the traditional school system? I mean, what's the new thinking in terms of the...
That's just a terminology that we use sometimes to distinguish in reference to the middle schools as the buildings. We have for example, Wharton School was a 5-6 school. Then we have a 7-8 center, say a Bass School, which is a different, both of them constitute what we call our middle school program, but they're different locations. That's why I generally refer to them as centers.
Now, as chairman of the school board, how many other members are also a part of that school board, and exactly how are they selected, and what are the general jurisdictions for them? Nothing specific, but in general terms of who they represent.
There are 9 school board districts in Davidson County, and that's divided by geographic lines, population, number of people who live within those. They're similar to our councilmanic districts. Obviously, there are 35 councilmanic districts. We have 35 councilmen. We have 9 school board members. The school board itself selects a chairman every 2 years. I've been serving as chairman now for 3 years. We do extend that if we have what we call extenuating circumstances, and that's why I'm serving an additional year as chairman, because of the continuity of the plan that we are trying to develop. But there are 9 school board members. There are 2 ladies on the school board, 2 women. There are 2 blacks on the school board, and 5 male whites.
And so the school board really represents sort of a cross-section in terms of its makeup.
Yes. I think it probably represents one of the best cross-sections in terms not only of gender and race, but also of socioeconomic, cultural kinds of backgrounds, as any board that I've ever served on.
Now, let's look at some of the issues that you have to deal with, and I think that there are many things that are going on in the school board now, and I think you've also indicated that it's quite time-consuming simply doing what you do as a member of the school board, and I would imagine that all of the other members of the school board would probably echo that sentiment. But now, you do spend a lot of time together as members of that board. Now, what are you doing? I mean, what are some of the issues that you have identified?
Well, we meet on a regular basis, as you probably know. We meet twice a month on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday. Those meetings are generally to handle the basic kinds of things that any board of education would, the budgetary matters, the expenditure of funds, any special programs that are being introduced into the system, personnel matters, all of those kinds of things that a board would do. For the last 3 or 4 months, we've been meeting almost every Tuesday, and on those off Tuesdays, we have what we call study sessions or discussion groups, and this is dealing primarily with the commitment to the future, the desegregation plan. We've been putting a lot of energy in that. That's probably the single most, the single biggest issue that's facing the board now, but it covers many areas. The 3-tier system that I talked about. It covers the magnet school, how we're going to integrate those into the system. It covers the enhanced school concepts that you've probably heard people talk about, of elementary schools within the inner city with focused kinds of resources, a multitude of things.
And of course, we want to talk about many of those things when we deal specifically with what is going on as issues in the board. In addition, we want to talk about dropouts and several other things, but basically we want to try to get the foundation for the board and to find out exactly what people are talking about when they talk about the school board and the membership and that kind of information. And of course, what we'll do, we'll take a commercial break here within the next few seconds, and after that we'll come back and we'll talk about some things that are important. But before we have that break, let's sort of start off, and recognizing that we will probably interrupt you here, but let's sort of start off by having you to at least catalog what you consider to be 4 or 5 issues that are significant in terms of what you do.
Well, obviously, one of the big issues that this school system in Nashville faces, we believe that we are an underfunded school system, and I can talk further about that when we come back from the break. Also, the commitment to the future, the kinds of things, the kinds of resources that we'll take to develop that plan, And the magnet school program, I think, is a significant issue to many people in the system.
Very good, and we'll talk about those things when we come back. We'll be back with you following this commercial break.